We often hear that sugar is the ultimate villain of modern diets, the single ingredient standing between us and perfect health. But this widespread narrative misses a profound biological truth. Sugar is not just a candy bar or a sweet treat. In its fundamental form, it is the very currency of human energy. The real mystery lies not in avoiding it entirely, but in understanding how our bodies process different forms of this vital fuel. When we uncover the mechanics of glucose metabolism, we unlock a powerful tool for transforming our daily well being. A common misconception suggests all carbohydrates are created equal, treating an apple and a soda as identical threats. Science tells a distinctly different story. When we consume whole foods, we ingest natural sugars bound tightly within complex matrices of dietary fiber, water, and essential micronutrients. This intricate packaging slows down digestion, allowing energy to seep into our bloodstream at a steady, manageable pace. The biological response is measured and calm, providing sustained fuel for our brains and muscles without triggering an internal alarm. The modern food environment, however, relies heavily on added sugars. These are the highly refined, easily accessible carbohydrates stripped of their protective fiber and nutrients, hidden in everything from salad dressings to bread. When these isolated molecules hit our digestive tract, they bypass the body's natural speed limits. They rush directly into the bloodstream, creating an aggressive, rapid spike in blood sugar levels. This sudden surge demands immediate action from our internal regulatory systems, forcing a sudden metabolic pivot. Enter insulin, the vital hormone produced by the pancreas. Think of insulin as a biological key specifically designed to unlock the doors of our muscle, fat, and liver cells. Once the doors are open, glucose can safely exit the bloodstream and enter the cells to be burned for energy or stored for later use. Under normal circumstances, this system operates with elegant precision. A moderate rise in blood sugar triggers a proportionate release of insulin, restoring balance to the bloodstream seamlessly. But what happens when the flood of rapid acting carbohydrates becomes a daily, relentless occurrence? The pancreas is forced to work overtime, pumping out increasingly massive quantities of insulin to clear the chronic deluge of glucose from the blood. This constant state of emergency begins to exhaust the system. The cellular locks, bombarded by excessive amounts of insulin day after day, start to lose their sensitivity. The keys no longer turn smoothly, and the doors remain stubbornly shut. This cellular deafness is known as insulin resistance. It is a quiet, insidious shift in our metabolic baseline that often goes unnoticed for years. Because the cells refuse to open, sugar remains trapped in the bloodstream, prompting the pancreas to desperately produce even more insulin in a futile attempt to force the doors wide. We are left with high circulating levels of both glucose and insulin, a volatile combination that acts as a catalyst for widespread biological dysfunction. Recognizing this silent shift is deeply empowering. It means we can look beyond the simple metric of weight gain and understand the invisible metabolic strain driving our afternoon fatigue, our sudden cravings, and our fluctuating moods. By acknowledging the heavy toll of constant insulin demands, we gain the clarity needed to intervene. We are no longer victims of arbitrary food rules, but informed managers of our own cellular energy economy. When the muscles and fat cells stop responding to insulin, the burden of managing the excess energy falls heavily on the liver. The liver is a remarkable organ capable of converting surplus glucose into fat for safe storage. However, this safety valve was evolved to handle occasional seasonal abundances, not a perpetual daily surplus of refined carbohydrates. As the relentless influx continues, the liver's storage capacity becomes overwhelmed, and the newly manufactured fat begins to accumulate directly within the organ tissue itself. This localized accumulation leads to non alcoholic fatty liver disease, a condition that has surged in prevalence alongside modern dietary habits. The liver, once a highly efficient metabolic processing plant, becomes sluggish and inflamed, choked by its own lipid stores. This condition compromises the organ's ability to detoxify the blood, regulate cholesterol, and manage energy reserves. It is a stark physical manifestation of a metabolic system pushed far beyond its evolutionary design limits. Reversing this hepatic burden starts with fundamentally changing the fuel mixture we provide. By dramatically reducing our intake of liquid calories and hidden sweeteners, we give the liver a crucial window of opportunity to clear its backlog. Without the constant pressure to convert excess sugar into fat, the organ can begin to utilize its stored lipids for baseline energy. This simple dietary pivot acts as a powerful restorative lever, allowing a congested system to slowly regain its functional elegance. The consequences of insulin resistance and a burdened liver do not remain confined to specific organs. High levels of circulating blood sugar act like microscopic shards of glass, subtly damaging the delicate inner linings of our blood vessels. In response to this continuous cellular injury, the immune system initiates a persistent, low grade defensive response. This is chronic inflammation, a smoldering biological fire that silently damages healthy tissue over time. Unlike the acute, helpful inflammation that heals a cut or fights a sudden infection, this systemic variety offers no benefits. It simply degrades our biological infrastructure. Chronic inflammation is now recognized by medical science as a foundational driver for a host of modern ailments, from cardiovascular disease to neurodegenerative conditions. The excess sugar in our bloodstream essentially keeps the immune system locked in a state of high alert, exhausting our body's natural repair mechanisms and accelerating cellular aging. The real surprise lies in how this internal fire manifests in our daily lives. That persistent brain fog, the stiff joints in the morning, or the lingering fatigue that no amount of sleep seems to cure are often the whispered symptoms of this systemic distress. Understanding that these common complaints share a root cause in our metabolic health changes everything. It shifts the focus from merely treating isolated symptoms to addressing the underlying metabolic imbalance that fuels them. Our metabolic narrative takes another fascinating turn when we examine the trillions of microorganisms residing in our digestive tract. The gut microbiome is a complex, thriving ecosystem that plays a surprisingly critical role in how we process food and regulate immunity. These resident bacteria thrive on what we feed them. When our diet is rich in diverse, fibrous whole foods, beneficial bacterial strains flourish, producing short chain fatty acids that actively reduce systemic inflammation and improve our cellular sensitivity to insulin. Conversely, a high influx of refined carbohydrates radically alters this delicate internal landscape. Excessive sugar acts as premium fuel for pathogenic pro inflammatory strains of bacteria, allowing them to rapidly multiply and crowd out the beneficial microbes. This state of dysbiosis compromises the integrity of the intestinal wall. The resulting permeability allows bacterial toxins to leak directly into the bloodstream, throwing another heavy log onto the fire of chronic inflammation and further worsening our metabolic stability. We hold the power to reshape this inner world with every meal. By prioritizing foods rich in complex fibers, such as legumes, vegetables, and whole grains, we selectively nourish the beneficial microbes that protect our metabolic health. This dietary approach effectively starves the harmful, sugar loving bacteria, gradually restoring harmony to the gut ecosystem. As the microbiome heals, its positive influence radiates outward, naturally dampening inflammatory signals and supporting the liver in its vital metabolic duties. But what if nutrition is only half of the metabolic equation? While modifying our dietary inputs is crucial, we must also address how our body utilizes the energy we absorb. The human body was engineered for movement, and our skeletal muscles represent the largest sink for circulating glucose. Engaging these muscles through physical activity provides a profound, immediate bypass to the sluggish insulin pathways that plague modern metabolisms. When we engage in brisk walking, strength training, or any sustained physical effort, our muscle cells experience an acute demand for fuel. In response, they deploy specialized glucose transporters to their surfaces, effectively opening the cellular doors without needing insulin to turn the key. This non insulin dependent glucose uptake acts as a powerful pressure relief valve for the bloodstream. It rapidly clears excess sugar, giving the overworked pancreas a much needed rest and lowering the overall burden on the liver. The beauty of this physiological mechanism is its accessibility. We do not need to become elite athletes to reap the metabolic rewards of movement. A simple, brisk walk for 15 minutes after a meal can significantly blunt the subsequent rise in blood sugar. By strategically timing our physical activity, we actively assist our body in managing the energy load, preventing the steep spikes and crashes that drive cellular resistance and systemic inflammation. As we consistently combine mindful nutrition with regular movement, we begin to cultivate a state known as metabolic flexibility. This is the body's elegant ability to seamlessly switch between burning glucose for quick energy and tapping into stored fat for sustained endurance. When we achieve this flexibility, the desperate afternoon sugar cravings fade away. We experience a stable, reliable current of energy that carries us through the day, free from the volatile swings of a rigid, sugar dependent metabolism. Beyond the plate and the gym, our metabolic health is deeply intertwined with our nervous system and our nightly recovery. Chronic psychological stress and inadequate sleep are potent metabolic disruptors. When we are sleep deprived or chronically anxious, our body elevates the production of cortisol, a primary stress hormone. Cortisol's evolutionary mandate is to ensure we have enough immediate energy to survive a threat, which it achieves by signaling the liver to dump stored glucose directly into the bloodstream. This stress-induced glucose release occurs entirely independent of what we have eaten. If this state of high alert persists day after day, the continuous trickle of sugar forces the pancreas into a familiar, exhausting routine of constant insulin production. The echoes of cellular deafness begin to resonate once more, proving that metabolic dysfunction can be driven just as effectively by a frazzled nervous system as by a diet heavy in refined carbohydrates. Protecting our metabolic baseline therefore requires a holistic defense strategy. Prioritizing 7 to 8 hours of restorative sleep and implementing daily stress reduction practices are not mere luxuries, they are fundamental metabolic interventions. By calming the nervous system, we lower ambient cortisol levels, reducing the inappropriate release of stored glucose. This comprehensive approach ensures that the diligent work we do through nutrition and exercise is not silently undermined by the physiological consequences of chronic exhaustion. The science of glucose metabolism ultimately paints a picture of profound biological interconnectedness. The choices we make today about the sugars we consume, the ways we move, and the rest we secure do not simply dictate our weight tomorrow. They ripple outward, influencing the health of our liver, the integrity of our blood vessels, the balance of our microbiome, and the pace at which our cells age. We are actively writing the script for our long term vitality. The path to enduring well being does not require absolute perfection or the complete demonization of sweet foods. It demands clarity. By understanding the profound difference between the slow, steady energy of whole foods and the chaotic surges caused by refined additives, we reclaim our health. We can support our pancreas, protect our liver, and extinguish the silent fires of inflammation. Armed with this evidence based knowledge, we are fully equipped to build a vibrant, resilient, and metabolically balanced life.